Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Cologne podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Ryan, and we're just two best friends going on a fragrance journey and giving you our uneducated opinion on things.
And today we're actually joined by a guest, Paulina. Thanks for joining us, Paulina.
Hello. How are you guys?
We're doing great. And we have your first release. We're going to talk about the first fragrance that you released. But first, we just want to kind of get into how did you become a fragrance influencer to build up to releasing fragrances?
You know, to be completely honest, I don't see myself as any influencer of any kind. However, my journey is quite interesting because before I started, I used to be a corporate lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah. I even was doing my PhD, you know, going hard when it comes to law business. However, I decided that this is not for me, and I ended that career and started posting YouTube videos. And for some reason, it really went well, and the rest is history.
That's crazy. Have you found that you've applied anything from law into the YouTube side of things?
You know, not when it comes to perfumery or the reviews. However, for sure, it gave me a great background to be on my own in that kind of industry, to be in the business, and to make decisions that are wise, at least most of them, because, you know, we all may make mistakes when we start out, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. It gave you a better baseline for, this is probably a smart move for me. This doesn't look as beneficial for me personally, that sort of thing.
Definitely. And, you know, what's very important for me is that I don't really have to ask anyone for advice that many people who work on YouTube usually need.
Right. Legal advice.
Exactly, because, you know, YouTube is not just making videos. You guys know that very well. It's also a lot that's going on behind the scenes. And, you know, I'm also very happy because I meet a lot of people who do the same thing as I do now, and I'm able to help them as well. So that's really, really cool.
What do you think the biggest mistake that people kind of getting into this are making?
Well, definitely selling themselves short and not reading enough. These are the two things for sure. So by selling ourselves short, what I mean by that is that people think that the brands that potentially want to work with you can give you only fragrance for review and that's it. But in truth, this is a whole marketing strategy that they have. Basically, you know, to send a fragrance to certain people is really cost-cutting strategy. And if you're putting so much work into doing something for a brand, you should definitely think about building that relationship and maybe getting something more out of it. So I highly, highly encourage people to, you know, think about that when they start working with someone. And the other thing is that, people just jump on board and do the videos and don't really read things about taxes, about working in different countries, different continents. And, you know, when you work with YouTube, it's very important to know such things because you can actually lose a lot of money in the process.
It kind of sneaks up on some people, right?
Yeah,
and so then they're not prepped for it. So you're like kind of forward thinking. I mean, you built a whole career in front of what you did that then helped you navigate as soon as things started popping off for you, which is great.
Yes, that's true. However, when it comes to perfumes, actually, my love to perfumes came out when I was born, honestly, because my parents were so into fragrances. My father is a doctor and he used to travel a lot to Middle Eastern areas and he used to take me with him. And, you know, all those smells that were so new for me as a kid, because in Central Europe, we would not have stuff like oud or heavy spices. And all of that really inspired my journey. And I think that's why I fell in love with fragrances so much.
It seems to be such a common thing with all of us in this community. At some point, a lot of us have experienced something so early on, mostly family related, and it just carries on and we just have a passion for smelling stuff. So it's kind of cool. It's always cool hearing that. It may be a similar story with everybody, but it is always unique. Yours is different as well. Like traveling, getting to smell something different, and probably a lot of stuff that we don't get to smell around here, you know? So,
Yeah, because Phil, over in Europe, you can travel just a few hours and you're in completely different country with,
Yes.
you know, completely different cultures.
yes.
And we have little pockets of that definitely within the US. But I mean, for the most part, if we travel, I drove 21 hours straight and could stop and get a hamburger and it was still America. And, you know, so getting to having such diverse cultures so close together that you're able to kind of, like you were saying, visit and experience, it does make an impact.
Yes, definitely. And I always say that fragrance is not really what you think you might like, because fragrance is experience. The way you evolve with your taste is because of the things you eat, places you travel to, the environment you're surrounded with. So let's say you live in a foresty area. You will probably like moss. You know what I mean? These are the things that we pick up, as you guys said, in our childhood, especially the food, the spices your mom uses. It all comes down to that when it comes to what you love with fragrances.
Well, yeah, I want to tack on to that talking about Venom of Love because it's very chocolatey, cherry sort of a fragrance. And I was telling Ryan, it's such a visceral memory for me from my childhood because my grandmother, every Christmas, she would only want one thing. She'd want chocolate-covered cherries. That'd be the one thing she'd ask for. And so every year, we would have that around Christmas time. That was that special thing that my grandmother grew up in an era where that was the height of luxury because she was so poor growing up. And that was such a big deal to her. And so it was such a strong memory. And that was imparted on me that even years now that after she's passed, every Christmas, I still buy chocolate covered cherries and share with my children as well. So I feel like that memory and then being able to smell that when you purchase a fragrance, it's not necessarily a smell, but a time machine and a memory and like a physical connection to the past or to strong emotional experiences.
Yeah.
Definitely. When it comes to Venom of Love, it's actually quite funny because there are kind of two sides of it when it comes to creating the fragrance. One side is very alluring and mysterious. I'm going to get to it in a second. But the other, the true one, is that here in Poland, we have cherry-based vodka.
Okay.
And it's like a chocolatey cherry liquor that you can mix or drink alone. Of course, Polish people drink it alone, obviously. But this was literally what I was going for because I kind of wanted to give this fragrance some Polish traditional roots. So that was my main idea, honestly, behind it. And the other side of the fragrance is that I really wanted to create something very seductive and sexy. My life mission is to empower women and men to be more in tune with their sexuality, and I always try to do that through my fragrance reviews and through my recommendations. So, it was only natural to have something seductive and sensual for my first release.
That's one thing we did notice, and it's no knock to the other ladies in kind of the fragrance sphere, but you lean very heavily on female fragrances and sharing fragrances with other females.
Yeah.
It's obviously very profitable to go after the men in this arena because we're all interested in what ladies have to say about what we're wearing. But I think it is very cool that your direction and focus has been to empower women through that. And we talked a little bit about that in Italy as well, of what you were doing with that.
Yeah.
So talking about Venom of Love a little bit, there is definitely a lean towards femininity in it. But do you feel like it's a unisex fragrance, or do you feel like it's mostly leaning towards females or people who like feminine fragrances?
So the truth is that this is a complete unisex. Because of a heavy amberwood dose in the dry down, I must honestly tell you that I feel like, it's my opinion at the moment, it fluctuates, but at the moment I feel,
Right.
I feel like it actually smells better on a man. It really does, because it gets so sexy on you guys. Like,
I definitely like it. And I wanted to actually ask you, because I was watching you kind of describe it on some of your videos. You were talking about, and you just kind of mentioned a minute ago, but you were saying that Polish cherries are like the shit.
Yeah. They really are.
So I basically, he actually loves cherries. I'm not like a hater against cherries.
He's a hater against cherries.
Cherry cobbler, stuff like that. Like, I can get down with it. But he really does love cherries. And so I was wondering, and maybe it's me, and maybe I need to try a Polish cherry. So I was wanting to ask, like, what is that all about? Because you definitely were vouching for it hardcore in your videos.
Well, let me tell you, Polish women and Polish cherries. You have to try it once, at least once in your life, and then you're hooked.
Okay, y'all heard it there first.
That's right. Gentlemen,
I'm just putting it out there.
For sure.
It's very pleasant. It really is. Actually, I prefer it on my skin. I can definitely smell it. It smells crazy cherry on my skin. So, I mean, smelling it right now, it smells really good, I have to say, honestly.
Now that you mentioned it, we don't do a ton of note breakdowns on the show, but now that you've mentioned that amberwood sort of smell, it's like hearing it and smelling it at the same time kind of unlocked that. And I do smell it. And then, yes, it immediately makes me think, okay, I could totally wear this.
Yeah. And also, I not only that Polish cherry Supreme that I wanted to include there, but I actually wanted to give this fragrance a slight Middle Eastern accent, and that's why we put rose and jasmine in there as well. And it will make an appearance from time to time. You know, some people might absolutely love it. Some people do not really love those Middle Eastern fragrances, and I completely understand that. But for me, it was important to have a little whiff of that in there as well.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it unisex even more as the time goes by. Because, you know, the cherry will die down, the chocolate will die down, and that's what's going to stay predominantly.
Well, you have a new fragrance coming out, and I want to get to that because this is an exclusive.
Yes.
So we want to talk about that. But tell us a little bit about the launch of Venom of Love, how that's gone, things that you've seen, things you're proud of from it. Kind of give us the rundown on this whole experience of releasing your own fragrance based on your own creative direction.
It was surreal, guys. It was truly surreal because with the brand I work with, Navitus, what was amazing is that I can every time choose a perfumer I work with. And that's just, you know, a dream come true for anyone who loves fragrances, right? So with Venom, knowing that this person is exquisite when it comes to producing gourmand fragrances, we went with Sidonie Lassau. She did Intoxicated for Kilian and some other ones for Kilian. So, you know, it was just a very obvious choice for me. And, you know, working with such person is wow to begin with.
Right.
And then we sold out in 3 weeks after the release.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for first fragrance and considering the fact that I don't have millions of subscribers, it was very, very good. So it made me super proud and so happy. And now I only hope to do better and better and better.
Well, I'll touch on 2 things. One, just kind of like the fragrance side of this, and 2, like the human side of you for a minute. Quickly, yeah, she actually did Straight to Heaven for Kilian, which for me is my favorite for theirs. I love that smell.
Is it?
Such a good one.
We love that fragrance.
And I want to say
It's
on
amazing.
On the human side of it, because in your video, it was an adorable interaction, but you were talking about when this came out, you were probably going to buy 6 to 10 bottles because you wanted one for a family member and this. And that's how I would kind of be. If we were ever privileged enough to ever have a fragrance, I'd probably buy 20 for myself to have. And I'd be so proud of it. And I would be. It would be such a cool thing to show like family members and stuff. They would be on board for it. It would be so cool. And I thought that was so genuine of you to kind of express that feeling of glee and excitement for getting your first fragrance. I really enjoyed watching that about you.
The hard work that you put into it behind it to get get up to that point has got to be validation for you to go, not only have you loved it, but you've put in the time, you've put in creating the content and being sold out and excited about fragrances, really showing your passion, to then building up to that point. It's got to be a marker of validation for you that you did it.
Yeah.
You've done something.
Yeah.
That's true, but honestly, unfortunately, it's not really in my character to be fully satisfied with what I do, because I feel like there's always room to improve. There's always a room to go better. And, I don't know if I will ever achieve that sense of calmness, so to speak, inside me that, yeah, I did it. I don't know. Maybe one day when I'm a billionaire, 80 years old on a wheelchair, I will just go out to the garden of my big mansion and then I'll say I did it and I died that moment. But other than that, I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. I think that's human nature in general too. Yeah. Like once you get to the mountain peak, you look over and you see the other mountain peaks and you go, well, now I got to climb that one. And now I got to climb that one.
Exactly. So, it's a little bit self-sabotaging, but
if you love the journey of it, then it's all worth it, because that never really stops. You take a break at the finish line, you shake a few hands and then you start running again. And if you love running, then it's a great life. Mm-hmm. But if you only love the finish line, that's the shortest part of the whole journey, right? So I kind of admire the drive and the passion behind it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm never scared of working hard, because I really believe that when you truly put your mind and heart and soul into something, then you can achieve anything you want.
Well, let's talk about this next achievement you've got coming up, right? You've got another fragrance.
Speaking of.
Yes, the next mountain. Let's climb this next mountain. Tell us everything about it.
Yeah, so let's call it Kilimanjaro.
Right.
The first one was Mont Blanc. Now it's Kilimanjaro for me. This is first time me saying it out loud to the public. We will be launching the new fragrance this weekend, most probably. We don't have the absolute exact date and time. However, we are focusing everything to have it done this weekend. And this one, ladies and gentlemen, is produced by Francis Courjan and Jerome Di Marino, who I have met in Milan, actually. Very, very nice guy. And he's also very excited for this release. And this fragrance is completely different to Venom of Love or anything that I supposedly should love, knowing my taste.
Okay.
It's absolutely out of my comfort zone, because I know you guys do not really go through the note breakdowns, but I'm just going to give you some of the notes so you have a picture in your head. So we have some mandarin at the top with violet leaf and iris. Then we've got algae, hay, and birch tar oil. And then we've got vanilla, benzoin, moss, and musks.
Wow. I'm trying to formulate that in my head and break it down into what it smells like.
No chance. No chance.
For sure.
I don't know why, but it sounds really good to me, because I say to him all the time, there'll be certain fragrances I feel like I smell hay in it, and I love those fragrances. So
right.
I don't know. I'm on board already for it.
Yeah. I mean, we live in such a rural area out in Texas to where we have horses and cows and tons of hay.
Yes.
And we do know that there is a sweet, pleasing aroma from hay that you can get.
Yes.
Just being around it, that at times you can be out there in the field and the wind catches it. And it is like there's something sweet and savory about the smell of hay, for sure.
And that's exactly what has been captured in that fragrance. But also there's this it's like a very contradicting note structure, because on one side you have that hay that's quite sweet and cozy and dry, but at the same time you've got this wet, foresty like moss and the heaviness of that birch tar oil. And then you have some benzoin, which really complements the hay, the sweetness of the hay. So it's like fresh, but cozy and very freeing. It's a very freeing fragrance. If I could compare it to a feeling, you just feel free wearing it and safe. So that's why I wanted to call it Kind Intentions, because it's like a homage to all the good things and all the good people in your life that surround you and make you feel safe and free at the same time.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people say I'm a little bit too poetic, but that's just a real life vibe.
That's what it's about, though.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the more passion behind it, you do want a fragrance to take you somewhere when you smell it. I think at least for us, or at least people who are very enthusiastic about fragrances, it goes well beyond this smells good.
Yeah.
I think because we can go in any department store and we'll smell something that smells perfectly fine, but is slightly generic. And it's almost a letdown to us, not because it doesn't smell good. And we've even done episodes like this where we smell a fragrance and we go, it's kind of safe, though. It's just kind of like, it's kind of there. It smells good, but it doesn't take me anywhere. It doesn't ignite any sort of fire, inside of me to go, oh, I remember this, or I can connect it to this. And that's, I feel like the more you find a fragrance that does that, it resonates with something in me, and that makes it a fragrance for me, rather than just smelling good. Because now the more you get into it, the less you go, I just want to smell good. And the more you go, this is my personality. I want when I interact with somebody for them to smell what I'm wearing and know me better, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, so you see, I had two options to go with. I could have gone easy and safe, knowing that most people will like it. Or I could go with uncharted territory and make sure it impacts people. So here we are.
Doing something more on the challenging side, or at least less middle of the road. Are you afraid of what people might say about it if they don't like it?
When it comes to fragrances, it's so personal that there, of course, will be many people who will not like it. Same as Venom of Love, and same with any other fragrance. Like even Coco Mademoiselle has their haters, right?
Right.
I think that is a given when you're trying to create something, especially something unique, right? So I'm not afraid of criticism as long as it is constructive.
There's a little bit of negativity that just wants to hate a fragrance or deny the quality of the fragrance by just saying that I don't like it, when it's just easier to go, this is not my vibe.
Exactly.
I think some of the greatest fragrances out there have strong reactions to both. Like, oh, I really love this. No. And then some people go, I really don't love this. For me, this is not my vibe. This is not my taste. Dark chocolate is a good example. Me and you just talked about this. I love dark chocolate. Ryan hates dark chocolate. And that's because dark chocolate has such a personality to it. Yeah. It's so strong in what it is that the people that love that will absolutely love that. The people that hate that, they're never going to like that. I think you'll eventually like it. So I think a good fragrance is like that too. The worst thing you can have is a meh. Right? Yeah. You'd much rather have a strong emotional response to it. Yeah. On either side of the coin.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd rather have that, like a strong dislike, than a meh through and through from everyone.
For sure. Yes. Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
Do you find that in your own personality?
Oh, yes. I think 50-50. You either love me or you don't want to come here. That's how it is, unfortunately. Yeah.
Again, that's kind of part of it, right? That's part of being memorable, all the same.
Yeah, I've always been different. But, I think that's good. The older you get, you start to embrace it.
For sure.
Yeah. You turned some of the things that people were turned off by when you were younger, you start turning those into like a selling point for yourself too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's how it is. Yeah.
So what is the journey like of creating a fragrance? Ryan and I have not ever done this. No. And we don't have Francis Kirkjean on the line to where we can say, we need a little bit more hay in that, bud. Tell us from start to finish, from creating the idea through the process, what is it like?
So first, of course, it starts with your idea, right? You said, say, I want something fresh and I want this and this and this to be included in my fragrance, let's say, right? So then we basically do a research and we give that idea to certain perfumers. So let's say Mr. Francis Bourjan, Sidonie, etc., etc. And all these perfumers will prepare a few samples for you. That's based on your idea, the node breakdown that you gave them, the vibe that you're going for. And of course, they give you their own artistic input. And they will send you those samples, let's say 5 of them from each perfumer. And you have to test it. You have to, make a proper testing period for each of the sample. And then you basically exclude the ones that you don't want to go with and choose the one that you love. And then the actual work starts. Then you have to choose the dosage of alcohol, because you guys know that very well that, sometimes higher dosage of alcohol is better for the projection. And sometimes it's the other way around where you have more oil, you have more longevity, but not much of a projection, etc., etc. So you have to test all of that. So when you choose that sample, you get another variation of that same scent, and you get samples upon samples upon samples with different dosages of alcohol, different dosages of oils. Some have more or less sweetness, crispiness, etc. There are some slight nuances that you will have to pick up on and choose the best version. Same goes with the longevity, sillage, projection. So it's actually good to have a big family when you do that, because you can,
Right.
test it on everyone, ask around. That's very convenient to have a big family. Unfortunately, I don't, but, people who are interested in doing things like that then.
With you saying all that, I'm such an indecisive person, and Mike probably hates that the most about me.
Yeah, for sure.
If it was me, it really would be hard. Even if I was given just 3 or 4 options, it would be so hard for me to go, which one do I really, really like? When you were going through that, were there any that just battled with each other that you were really just almost going through misery trying to figure out which one you wanted to pick?
Many times. And, we even came to a point where we scratched 6 months of work completely making the fragrance.
Wow.
Yeah. It was very hard and frustrating. And of course, I'm that kind of person who is not very crazy about my own opinion. And I always listen to other people doing something. So if the team didn't like the version that I liked, I would say, yeah, okay, guys, I trust you. This is our work. It's not just me. So let's go with something different. So this is how it is. And when it comes to being indecisive, I always take into consideration what people will find the most appealing. So for me, it's always the longevity is at the top of my priority list, right? So let's say if something is maybe not as perfect note-wise as I would want, but it has way better longevity, I will probably choose that.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We were actually talking about that this morning on a different side of things, because I was talking about prototyping a certain product for market. And I was like, if we leaned so heavy into the art, we could make it perfect visually, but then the functionality would not be there. And so people would love it visually, but then would get frustrated in actually trying to use it, that we'd have to sacrifice on the art side sometimes for the functionality and for the form of it, so that people could actually enjoy the experience as much as the artistic vision. And I think fragrance is very similar to that, right?
Definitely. Why would you even need that perfect, amazing fragrance if it lasts 10 minutes on you? You know what I mean?
Right.
It isn't that a waste of money, honestly, because it will not give you its function that it's supposed to give you, right? You will not smell it. So yeah, of course, it is a sacrifice, in the artistic side of it sometimes, but I think this time with Kind Intentions we really, really hit it right, and we've got everything. We've got the artistic side, we've got the uniqueness, and we have an incredible staying power, and also it's a drifter, because Venom of Love is more like heavy and close to you, Whereas the Kind Intentions, the new one, is more of a drifter. You will get a big sillage of it. So, very courgette.
We love Ryan loves that,
Yes.
especially in his fragrances. I kind of like closer to the vest with mine. I want people to have to lean in. Ryan's like, I want to be so loud the whole room knows it's me.
I'm Team Ryan, definitely here.
Yes, thank you.
I'll try not to take that personally.
Sorry. But honestly, if you think of, let's say, Baccarat Rouge, right? Sometimes you don't smell it on you at all, and people smell it around the room where you're in.
Yeah.
That's kind of the same here.
Yeah.
It's very Courgette style with the sillage here. But
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, it's so good, and you also get so many different aspects from that fragrance that I think it's the ultimate signature scent, summer, winter, whatever you want. You get everything there.
It truly does sound incredible. And it also made me think, in the process of creating it, is it intimidating at times to be like telling these master perfumers, like, I think we went the wrong direction on that one. I think we need to go back this way,
we had some difficult conversations, I must admit. I must admit.
Can you imagine?
It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So,
no doubt.
So, master perfumers are artists. So speaking to an artist is a little bit different than speaking to, let's say, Uncle Joe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So sometimes it is difficult. So you have to maneuver it a little bit. And, sometimes you just put things to the side that you're not happy with, but you say you might come back to it next season. And then they're more happy that,
Right.
you're...
Yeah.
It's
You got to find them in the right mood.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's different. Industry and creativity, they have to work together, but they don't always like to work together.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine. And I can only imagine us going like, no, anything he says is fine. We love it. Thank you, sir, for even entertaining this concept.
That's probably what I would do if it was just me. But fortunately, I have a very straightforward team behind me with Navitus, so they can handle things,
Yeah, you need to pull out the big guns from time to time. We've got to do this just because we've got so many men listening, and we go back and forth between compliments and what to wear and what is good for showing confidence and being attractive. And we rarely get the female perspective on. So will you give us just a little bit? And I hate to cut the creative stuff, but I know we've got so many guys listening and watching. What do you think is most important about selecting a fragrance as a man?
First of all, you need more women on your podcast.
We have agreed. This is what I was telling you in Italy. I was like, look, we have a severe deficiency that we're trying to fix for sure. So I'm so glad that you're on for us.
Now you're going to get the truth here. And honestly, first of all, you have to smell right. Like 10 out of 10. And for me, sometimes too strong is a little bit too much. So don't go with, in my female opinion, don't go with fragrances that are killers all the time, especially when you're planning a date and you want to be close to a woman. Don't suffocate her. What I also definitely think is very appealing to women is slight, not massive, but slight sweetness in your fragrances, guys. A little bit of tonka, something that gives that sensual, cozy vibe in the dry down. That's definitely something that women absolutely love. Like, let's say, Herod from Marley, right? It has that nice tobacco-y, vanillic sweetness. Or, I don't know, Noir de Noir from Tom Ford. Even though it's a oud, it has that nice truffly, almost like chocolatey effect to it. Super sexy on a guy. So I would, if you really want to appeal to women, I would go for things like that. Also, there's this line from designer from Givenchy, Gentleman. Exquisite line. There is not one fragrance that I do not like from it. It's perfect. The original, the Boisé, all of them are fantastic. So, yeah.
There's some prime options for the guys out there. Thanks.
I'm more than happy to do it more often.
We may have to bring you in as a consultant from time to time.
Yeah, just, putting some top 10s of mine here and there for you guys, special occasion.
100%. Have you ever run into anybody, it could be male or female, where you smelled a fragrance on them and you were blown away? You had to stop and ask them what they were wearing.
Oh, yes, many times. Yes, many times. And, surprisingly, it was not always the most exquisite fragrance on earth. I was expecting some Roja or anything like that. And it was, let's say, just Blue Chanel. And that's the most surprising, because sometimes you expect something so expensive and mind-blowing and sophisticated. And in truth, it just takes the right man and just a normal fragrance.
Right.
And it mixes like magic.
There's hope for you yet, right?
Yes, there is.
What do you mean?
I just like to give him a hard time.
He hates me.
Oh, no.
So what are you looking forward to most with this release of this new fragrance?
Definitely having more men trying it. Because my audience is feminine, I'm kind of taken for granted in the male community. But
not anymore.
I hope so. I hope it will change, because this is a perfect fragrance. No matter if you're a woman or a man, I think it will give you so much joy wearing it. And many compliments.
Well, we're excited to try it, and we'll keep bugging you about it. So as soon as there's decants and samples available, then we'll be knocking on your door trying to get one of those, because we want to smell it, do an episode on it.
Absolutely, guys. I think I'm even going to be quicker than you in regarding sending you some stuff. So keep an eye for the mailman.
We would love that. Just the way you described it does sound really nice. It sounds, like you said, it sounds like home. It sounds, where we're at in East Texas is a very special place, because we have pine trees 150 foot tall, and we have pastures wide open with bales of hay everywhere. It sounds like something that really would speak right to where we are. And even like you said, if you're around trees a lot, you're gonna like those moss fragrances, because it strikes a chord in what you see as comfortable and close to home. And I feel like what you've described in this fragrance really is intriguing for me, because I think it kind of resonates in that area.
Yeah,
I agree.
And think of the end of summer, when that hay on the ground is already very dried out, and there's that whiff of slight freshness in the forest that's nearby, and the horses are running, and you smell that end of summer in the air, that kind of hot air and the hay, the dryness of it, and the slight freshness coming from the forest. This is the fragrance.
It sounds incredible.
I can't wait to smell it.
I want it right now,
Soon.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here and spending some time with us and dealing with us. So thank you so much. And it's honestly been a pleasure. This is my first time meeting you. I know you got to meet Mike over in Milan when he was over there on the trip, and rubbing it in my face, all these cool people he was meeting and all this fun he was having.
That's so rude.
I was sitting here behind the scenes, editing and stuff.
I love it. Yeah, like you said, with your personality, you are definitely someone that is easy to remember, because I feel like you're so strong in who you are. When I came back, that's one thing that I was telling Ryan. I was like, I got to speak with some very beautiful ladies, both inside and out, and saying like, we want to have them on the podcast. And he was like, yeah, that sounds great.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm almost blushing. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you for joining us.
It was more than a pleasure, truly. I had a blast, and I hope I was a nice guest. And I hope to see you.
Oh, yes, for
see
sure.
you again on your podcast.
Absolutely. We want to have you on again. Promise you'll be on again for us.
Fantastic. Cannot wait.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And until next time, spray it up, y'all.